Hello, everyone. We're back with part 2 of Season 4, Episode 5, Trending in the Tabletop Space. With me are my panel. We've introduced them in part 1. Want to know who they are? Go click on part 1. And we're going to continue on with question number 4. Question number 4. Every war game has a convention in place to provide randomization. This might be represented in dice, cards, Sudoku, etc. Are we seeing any trends in this space? And if so, what trend are we seeing? And for this, we will start with SolidSmurf.
We will never, ever unthrone the D6. I mean, it's the trend that they're sticking with it. I mean, I would love to see a developer go to a D12 system, or go to a D10 or D100. I don't care. Flip a coin. I mean, try something new. But they're so stuck on this. Do a mini game of Uno between rounds. Something. Do a word find. I don't care. Try something new. Get away from the D6. But I know that's a big investment, so they probably won't. But they're trending with the D6, and they need to trend away from it.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump over to John from WargamePainting.
I really dislike this question a lot. I didn't see any trend, really. I mean, everybody that's coming out with a new game system is really trying to get their own orientation into the hobby, where they're trying to actually step away from the D6, or they're trying to implement something else, like cards from Privateer Press, D20 from Infinity, clicky, spinny things from HeroClix. I mean, they're trying all new sorts of things to try and get away from the D6. There was another one that was very similar to HeroClix that I forgot. It was HeroScape, where they had dice with shields on them and dice with swords on them, and you rolled off and you compared the dice and the swords, or the shields and the swords. And so everybody's trying something new to try and get in the hobby, the niche that they're trying to fill. I don't really see a trend at all.
That's all right. The question was, did you see a trend to begin with? Jen, you're up.
I think that the real trend here is that the big companies, particularly Games Workshop and Privateer Press, are going to stick with sort of a proven working randomization system, and it's sort of up to all the little guys in the market to try something new. Malifaux, you get card decks. Infinity's got this great D20 system. If you want to go a little further afield, Monster Apocalypse sort of popped up and died quickly, but they had dice with like hits and misses and stuff like that. Dreamblade had blades and 1s and 2s, and so I think that we're just going to continue to see people come up with wacky stuff, and maybe if some of that is successful, it'll eventually move into some of the larger games. But for the time being, I think they're going to stick with D6.
Okay. I'm actually here to say that I see a huge trend taking place, and I really want to talk about this because I think this kind of really goes into play with a lot of discussion that we had during Season 1 of the RTD and the concerns that we had with codex escalation, and that is that we're seeing that companies are moving more and more into more variation. So, for instance, even though you have a D6s that you're using in War Machine, you're rolling 2D6, and pluses and minuses that occur in that system have a much smaller impact than a single D6 that you would see in a game like 40K or Warhammer Fantasy Battles. You go to Malifaux, you're using a 52 card deck system with 14 different potential 15 potential different values. You're going to Infinity and you're rolling D20s. The shift tends to be create more possible outcomes on a single roll or something to show a particular value, and by making a much larger field, your pluses and minuses have less of an impact, and your game can be more balanced even as you get more and more complicated with rule systems or improvements in various weapons and whatnot. Continue discussion.
I like the Monster Apocalypse reference. I missed that game. But what was cool about it was you had dice and you had you had okay dice that hit sometimes, and then you had amazing dice, and you shuffled them back and forth depending. They were kind of like a limited resource you could use per turn. So you had to plan out how you were going to use your dice, and it was actually really, really cool because you could throw as many dice as you wanted to most of the time with your monster. Just because they were that cool. But you had to be like, do I really need to throw this many? So you would throw a couple of the okay dice and sneak in like 2 of the awesome dice to bolster it up just a little bit. It was great. I liked it.
Do you feel that the greater variation that you're talking about that's offered by some of these systems makes the games too random? I mean, is there a danger as you're balancing out all these complicated rules of just making all the games come down to dice rolls?
There definitely can be that as a potential setback to how much randomization you provide. When you get farther and farther away from Risk, see, 6-sided dice work really, really great with Risk. Every single miniature has the same stat line. So when you're rolling 1 in 6 odds, fantastic concept. It's really no different than how they kind of introduced Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, and they started talking about minor complications and or pluses and minuses that you want to apply as a DM should always be 2. Like either +2 or -2, this offers a 10% variability. A 10% variability you can't apply to a D6 roll. The dice rolls determine how much variability you can have in your stat lines between models so that things can impact other things, and you want that to happen in your game system. But you want it so that if someone's putting up a 2-point model against a 50-point model, that David and Goliath battle, yes, David could win, but it's highly unlikely. And when it does happen, the whole store explodes with, "No way! Did you see that?" And you get these epic moments.
You're saying you can basically fine-tune those probabilities better with a larger scale of variation.
Exactly. I mean, in Malifaux, you even have the situation where, like in the Puppet Wars, where, the same cards that you use to attack with, you have to actually cause your model to be activated with. And so in there, where you have the increased variability, it actually gets reduced again because do I hold on to this really great king card or, effectively a 13 to use to attack, or because I have this model that I have to have at least a number 11 to activate at all, do I use it there? So there's ways to again bring it back to a strategy mindset, but you really do want bonuses and negatives to be more minute, or at least have the ability to fine-tune it in such a tiny way. War Machine does a fantastic job with 2 dice because then you deal with bell-shaped curves, and then your models do what they really should be able to do every single time.
I like the bell curve.
I gotta say, your David and Goliath thing definitely is something that I think is missing from most games. Because when I first jumped into 40K, there was maybe once every game, maybe once every other game where something like that happened, where something awesome happened, and everybody was just exploding over how cool it was. But maybe it's just my mindset when I become more competitive with the game, I have never seen that happen. Where it's like, if you go into it seriously in the current game systems, it doesn't happen. If you go in for like fun and fluff and you're taking stuff that you never would normally take, that stuff still happens. But it should be completely mainstream, because I love seeing it when you have 2 oblets left on the table. The other guy's got 1,000 points worth of NIDs left, and you tie a game because you hold on with those 2 oblets. That is awesome. But it doesn't happen anymore.
And we will jump on to question number 5. Using a 10-point scale, 1 being the median age is significantly younger to 10 being significantly older, what trends are we seeing in regards to the age of the tabletop gamer? And for this question, we will go to John from WargamePainting.
I gave this one a 7. I see little kids at my local game store, but they're almost there with their dad, who's playing the game, and they're sitting in the corner reading comic books or something. The last time I've seen somebody who's like 16 at a game store playing a game must have been 3 or 4 years ago. it's all like 36 and up. Honestly, I'm usually the youngest guy there. It's usually really just like, got a wife, 2 kids, this is my weekend off, I'm playing games. So I think it's definitely up there in age group.
All right. Jennifer, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 5. I know that the conventional wisdom is that the wargaming community is getting older. I mean, it makes all kinds of sense because kids these days, they're into video games and whatnot. But I have to go with just what we've observed at Sci-Fi Genre. And, you know, I would say that we have a lot of the same customers we had 5 years ago. We're still playing games. So in that way, maybe the average age is going up slightly. But we also consistently get new late high school, early college students into the games. And so I don't feel like I've seen a general increase in the ages of the folks we have gaming. It seems like we have a really nice spread. You know, we have, again, you know, high schoolers all the way up to retirees with a good spattering of 20-somethings, 30-somethings.
All right. SolidSmurf?
I went with a 4. Sadly,
really young.
Now, this is locational. I will say that to begin with. And also time dependent. But around here, the trend, it feels like our parents are using game stores as like daycares, and they're dropping off their Justin Bieber fanboy kids at the game store, and it's annoying. It really is, because they run around, they scream, and they throw paint, and I'm like, if I wanted this, I would have a child. But it's, you know, but then you go on a Saturday night and you have a game store that opens, you know, stays open till midnight. You get there around 10, you're going to have the more adult crowd. But if I were to show up on a Saturday at noon, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not even going to touch that. Nope, not going there. So, I give it a 4. 3 years.
All right. From my take, I'm actually seeing it be about a 6. It's just slightly going up, and the reason that I'm seeing this is that I do see kids that are, you know, in late high school, early college, still coming into tabletop hobbies. Now, if we included trading card games, we could actually potentially go back to a 5, because there's kids of all ages playing trading card games. But the investment, the money commitment and time investment involved with learning the rules and setting up models, you tend to have an older starting range of kids jumping into tabletop as a hobby. So you still have those people who are older playing the game, but there seems to be like a slight thinning out of the crowd of ages between, I would say, maybe 30 and 45. It's not that they disappeared altogether, but other life things, you know, having children and doing other things like that, before those kids are old enough to start bringing them back to their hobby stores, you don't see them anymore. And so with that question mark as to whether or not they're going to come back, it seems like and what I'm saying might sound like, well, shouldn't I be saying they're getting younger? No, they're still getting older, because the crowd over 45, you still see, especially in stores that focus in on historical gaming. And with that, we will open up the floor for continued discussion. And of course, you know, when you have one person who's 60, you can have 5 kids that are 19, and the trend still might be going up. So,
as they get older, the ages thin out. Just saying.
I just don't. I don't see it, but well, they think it's like it's that middle age disappearing. It's like the middle class of economics, right? The middle class is disappearing. No, it's like the middle age is disappearing, at least for that time frame to do, you know, other life events that are going on and whatnot.
Well, that's actually a really interesting point, because the age of people getting kids is going up higher. Mm-hmm. So that age group of where they have to be taking care of their snot-nosed, screaming little brat is increasing as well. So you're seeing less and less of that demographic, and as that keeps going up, as the age of kiddom keeps going up, you're going to see less and less of that group coming in. But again, and I mean, like Smurf said, I've seen it where there's like daycare situations where dad comes to play 40K, on Saturday, and he brings his 2 kids, and they sit in the corner, and they fold their hands, and they read comic books. I mean, do I have a problem with that? No, but I haven't seen a kid play a tabletop game in forever.
Have you ever really seen a kid, and when I'm saying kid at this point, let's say under the age of 12, playing a lot of tabletop games? So if we don't have that as a starting point, then that's not really part of our trend, right? Like, even most of the kids when I was really young, I mean, most of the kids the youngest kids that I would see in general, there's going to be someone out in YouTube land is like, I'm 8 and I play, whatever, Hero Clicks. Sorry, Smurf. But no, you're on my side, man. I'm on your side. The median youngest age that I would see is 15, right? For
maybe in the 13 to 14 range for things like Warhammer, but I think that that younger age group was really into Dreamblade and Monster Apocalypse and HeroClix to some extent. So I feel like there are sort of like gateway games that don't involve so much superglue that are really more for that age group. I have to agree that I never really saw kids younger than 14 get into Warhammer, and so I can't say that they are no longer getting into Warhammer because they never were.
Yeah.
So am I just in the twilight zone of wargaming over here?
Well, are they actually playing, or are they sitting in the corner reading comic books?
No, they're playing, they're playing wrongly.
Well, I mean, I have a 5-year-old nephew who I played Army Men with today, and by no means of the imagination would I ever write up his core rule system for a book and try to convince people it deals with how fast you move the character together and you just grab them both and throw them over there. That's not really a tabletop strategy game. That's more like 52 pickup with Army Men.
Nice. But no, I see them playing, and it's terrible because you see them. One of them pulls out his Assault on Blackreach set, and it's just the Space Marines, and the other guy pulls out his Tyranid battle box or whatever it's called, and they go, "Let's play a game. What do we do?" And you're just like, and you're like, you don't even have an army. And it's so frustrating because the parents they buy them some models and then they throw the kids at the staff. And I'm not just saying just at a Games Workshop store. I've seen this happen at other stores as well. And I don't know if mom's out in the car popping Xanax, to get away from the kids or whatever, but it's frustrating sometimes.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to question number 6. I don't know where to go from there, so we're going to go ahead and move on to question 6. Question number 6. Are the trends that we've talked about thus far, are we seeing that they're beneficial to tabletop wargamers, tabletop game manufacturers, both, neither? What is the impact of some of these trends? And for this, we will start with Jennifer from Sci-Fi Genre.
Oh boy. Okay, so to take these kind of one at a time. More models on the field, bigger models. This is good for manufacturers, right? You're going to buy more models. You're going to spend more on them. Instead of building them yourself, you're going to get them from a manufacturer. And I also think to a large extent that's good for gamers because people want big, cool centerpieces like we talked about. On the rulebooks thing, I really got to go back and talk a little bit about the trend toward PDF. Because I think that you can't deny that that's good for manufacturers because of the flexibility it allows, and it allows me as a game store owner to say, oh, hey, let me get you into this game. No, you don't have to buy anything. I go home, take a look at the rules, I give you a quick demo. Like, the first thing you got to buy is a starter set. And, for $45 now, you can get into a new minis game. I think that when manufacturers get over the hump of being like, but we need to sell the core book, that's going to be good for both manufacturers and gamers. Yeah, I'd say that covers the important ones. I mean, it's hard to say on the age thing because we don't really have a consensus on what direction that's going in. And, on the methods for randomization, I would just say that more variety is better. And so the more games we can get out there doing wacky new stuff, that's going to cause people to pick them up and take a serious look at them.
All right, Smurf, what's your thoughts on it?
I gave this to the manufacturers. Again, bigger armies. They're skewing point values. Well, some of them are, to make people buy more models. I see, at least the next year, really going towards the manufacturers, and with the way the economy is, the gamers are kind of take a kick to the wallet.
All right. John from WargamePainting, what's your thoughts?
Ooh, this is a long one. I'm trying to abbreviate as much as possible. I think the hobbyists are winning out on the end of this. I think that the hobbyists who go to the game store and just want to pick up one cool thing, like, I don't play vampire counts, but I have that dragon, and it is awesome. Just, you see these cool kits that are coming out, and you buy one of them, you paint it, and you build it, and you're awesome. You're like, yes, hobby aspect. I think the gamers are getting the short end of the stick. I think the core rule books that are coming out and the books themselves are just flimsy at best. I think they're poorly written, poorly worded. More often than not, rules are open for interpretation 26,000 different ways. I think that PDFs would solve a lot of that, and I think that the age groups increasing is fine with me. I get enough bratty 12-year-old Brazilian kids on Dota 2. I don't need to deal with that when I'm trying to play a tabletop game. So higher age groups, better for me. Yep, I'm getting the countdown, so I'm done.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Most of the trends that we were seeing are positive to the game manufacturers, with two exceptions, and one is the randomization. Again, the greater amount of randomization, I think, is a huge win to the tabletop gamers themselves, and the increased age of the gamer, although it's slight, I think is actually a loss for both game manufacturers and tabletop gamers, because the bottom line is, if you cannot get fresh blood into the hobby when you need to take your sabbatical to go have your kid or have your whatever life event happen, midlife crisis, whatever, where you need to get away from the hobby and come back, if you don't have that fresh lifeblood in there to sustain the hobby while you're gone, might not be there when you return. Continued discussion.
I got nothing to add.
All right.
And neither does John.
All right. Going once, going twice.
Be a bratty Brazilian kid. That's all I got.
All right. So we'll jump straight into question number 7, which is our prediction question. Make a prediction no matter how outlandish about the future of tabletop wargaming trends. This may include items we've either talked about or trends not even mentioned in this show. And for this, we will start with SolidSmurf.
Okay, so I think wargaming companies are going to open up lead poisoning clinics and then slowly start introducing lead back into their models and into their paints, so that way they can pull the wallet on both ends. They'll get their customers poisoned with lead as they buy their products, and then we'll have to pay fees at the lead poisoning clinics.
Yeah,
and that will be a trend.
The gift that keeps on giving. John from WargamePainting.
Yes.
Games Workshop Medical.
I don't want the people looking at me from that clinic that wrote the rule book. If you wrote the rule book, I do not want you at the clinic working. John, continue with your prediction.
How do you spell oxycodone again? Is there a Z in there? Anyway, I think that models are going to steadily increase in size until we're seeing, like, warjack-size infantry guys, just from the scale jump that we've been seeing from edition to edition.
All right. Jennifer from Sci-Fi Genre, throw out your prediction.
My prediction is going to seem derivative at this point, but I really predict that we're going to see a major game manufacturer, maybe privateer, go to a PDF model of rulebook. Between Infinity, whose rulebook may as well just be a wiki, and Mantic, who got into the minis business first, and then when they released their rule set, we're like, no, it's free online, just come download it. We're not even going to print this stuff. I think that people, when they get over this idea of needing to make money on the rulebook, are going to find that they can actually sell models better when they can release a rule supplement online and then release some models to go with it. And it's not oh, buy this rule book so you can use these new minis. It's buy these new minis, the rules are already online. And then, like we talked about, the quality assurance problem goes away because you can print errata immediately and get it out to everybody. You can change the tournament rule set, and then you don't have this gap where people are frustrated and angry with you because you released some boneheaded rules, and now they're stuck with them until an official errata is printed. So I would expect to see Privateer maybe go that direction. I don't think Games Workshop ever will, because I don't witness that they are ever subject to market forces. I don't know, like, Games Workshop is in their own little sphere of what market, we just do whatever we want. But I think that we could see Privateer go there.
All right. For my prediction, I think that the big trend that we're going to see is a trend towards higher playability through more functional rule sets, and this will only come about, much like as discussed by Jen, that it will only come from an electronic format so that if someone does make a mistake, they can get a correction out immediately. I think that the time of people investing in a hobby and watching their model go from the most important critical things, so they bought 20 of them, to becoming completely worthless is over. And it has to be the case, because otherwise we wouldn't see as many other companies flourishing underneath the weight of the 80-pound gorilla we know as GW. And that is the conclusion of Season 4, Episode 5, Trending in the Tabletop Wargaming Space. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I want to say a special thanks to each one of my panel members. If you want to take a look at their YouTube channels, it will be in the description area below. And as always, thank you for watching.